watching us. So for us in Ghana, let me first of all say that census is not new to us. Census undertaking in Ghana started way back in 1891, and that is about 130 years ago. And since then, we have tried our best as a country to conduct censuses every 10 years. We have had hitches here and there, but we have tried our best to maintain the 10-year periodicity, which in fact is a recommendation from the UN that countries should do their best to conduct censuses every 10 years. And so we do this because, and let me say that countries that have the resources, a few of them, have decided to do it every 5 years. But
what's the ideal though? 10
the
years?
ideal is the 10 years. And it is also because the 10 years is ideal because of the planning that goes into the census. It's too involving, and so you need time to do this. For this 2021 census, we started planning way back in 2018. So you can imagine the amount of effort that has gone into this. And also the money that we need to spend on the census. And so if you have a country like Ghana, where we have challenge with funding, then it will be appropriate to go by the 10-year periodicity. And so we do this because after the 10 years, we believe that the indicators that were measured in the last census would have become archaic. You see a number of changes that is happening within the 10-year span. And therefore, planning with such a data will become problematic. And so there's the need to get a more updated indicators to make sure that you plan with this new set of indicators. And so there's a lot of benefits that we get from the census. For this year's census.
Now, I'm going to come to the benefits question shortly. In fact, I wanted to ask that, but since the question of cost has come up, I thought we should just dwell a bit on that, because we know the amount that has been pegged to this whole exercise is 521 million Ghana cedis. Some people think this is a lot of money, and the question is, why 521 million? That's $500 million Ghana cedis. What is it going into, and how did we even come up with this figure?
Okay, thank you very much. So this amount, if you consider the kind of thing that you have done with the money, you will say that it's not huge per what you said.
Things like what?
Yes, so let me begin with so if you get the processes, then you understand why we're spending this amount. So first of all, before you even kickstart, you need to demarcate the country into what we call enumeration areas.
Okay.
And so we sent a number of people to the field and demarcated Ghana into 52,000 enumeration areas. This is because these enumerators and supervisors that we have deployed have to know exactly where they are supposed to work. You don't put, let's say, 3 people in Kaneshi in Accra.
Okay.
If you do that, where will one person begin and where will the other end? And so then it is important for us to clearly delineate the areas for each one of the enumerators. And that is what I'm talking about, the demarcation. And that alone was taking about 1/5 of the budget.
52,000 areas, that's...
Yeah. No, it's more than the 52. I'm even approximating it. And then, remember, this year's census is digital. This is the first time that we are using tablets to collect census data.
Won't that be a problem since you've not used that particular process before? Has it been tested?
Yes, so we have had to do a number of testing and also trial census. We have in fact done 3 trial censuses. So what you usually do is that you test all the processes and be sure that you are reliable and the processes are something that you can trust. And so we also tried our instruments and the processes, 3 of them. The first 2 had 4 different districts being selected. The last one, we selected only 1 district at Fantiakwa South in the eastern region. And now the tablet that I talked about, we trained 76,500 people. Each one of them was given a tablet. And so if you have, I don't know how much a tablet costs, you can tell me.
Depends on the
so
tablet you're
tablet
buying. Okay.
times 76,500. And apart from that, the computers.
These are the number of enumerators we
enumerators,
have.
yes.
76,500.
No, so the number of enumerators and supervisors will come up to 70,000.
Okay.
Because we usually would train more people than we need.
Okay, okay. Just for backup.
For backup and attrition, you know, after the training, some people will drop. And so you don't train exactly the number so that even when people have dropped for obvious, some reason, whatever reasons, we'll still have our numbers. And that is exactly what we did.
Did they get any special training, these enumerators?
Exactly, so I was coming to that. So apart from the cost, that is also taking about 1/5 of the budget.
Okay, so training cost is also involved.
The training, remember, we trained for 11 days. So putting 76,500 in classroom throughout the country. We fed them, so giving them breakfast, snack, and lunch every day. And then we paid TNT.
These enumerators I enjoy now. Breakfast, lunch, snack, TNT.
Yeah, and then TNT.
They are going to be paid also during the exercise.
Sure. Apart from the TNT that we are giving them, we are also paying them. So in fact, for each enumerator, we are paying 2,520 Ghana cedis for the period.
Okay.
And if you become, we select
Is this after tax?
No. This is field work, and so we don't tax it. And if you are selected as a supervisor, then we pay you 2,940 Ghana cedis.
Is there still room for more people to be recruited?
No.
So I can't apply. Now tell us the use of this census.
So you can imagine, and apart from this, there are other personnel that we are making use in the field. So we talk about DDQMT, that is District Data Quality Monitoring Team. So it's made up of a team of 4 people. We have IT, district IT personnel.
Since you're going digital, you need a lot of IT.
Sure. And you have district data quality monitor. So the IT person is helping us to address all the IT challenges that we have. If we have to sync, every day, as and when they collect the data, they have to sync the data to HQ.
So there's a central data point that all this data is being collected into.
Sure. And so if for some reason somebody is having a challenge syncing the data, we have an IT rover who should visit and make sure that we get the data, because we don't want to lose the data after collection. And we also have this district data quality monitor who is also constantly monitoring the quality of the data as and when they come. When we used to use paper questionnaire, we didn't have this. but we now have the opportunity to monitor the quality of the data and
what
be
if
sure.
They make mistakes?
Yeah, so that is what we are saying, that there could be errors coming from the field, and immediately we expect the data quality monitor to identify these errors and prompt the field officers to do the needful.
What else are you counting apart from human beings?
So let me finish with, so apart from the data quality monitor, you also have the DCO, the District Census Officer.
Okay.
So he is managing the census activities within the district. And you also have the District Field Officer, District Field Supervisor. This is also the person who is the technical person, making sure that he visits each of the supervisors and make sure that they have actually visited their area, identified their area, and are asking the questions the way they should be.
Are these all new people that were part of the people that were recruited, or these ones are?
In batches, we train them in batches. So the people that we trained from the 1st to the 11th of June are the enumerators and supervisors. But before that, we had trained the trainers. But there were 4 levels of training that we did. We first of all trained our master trainers, and these master trained 80 of them, and the master trainers later trained our national trainers. The national trainers were about 560 thereabout, and they also trained regional trainers, and then the regional trainers over 5,000 thereabout, and they also eventually trained the enumerators and supervisors. So that is the levels of training that was done.
Interesting. It's a lot of training that has gone into this. Sure. Like I asked earlier, when you go onto the field, you count human beings, and then you count what?
Okay, so the counting will actually begin on the 27th, the night of 27th June 2021. And that is the census night. I will talk about it later. But before the census night, we do what we call listing of structures. Okay. So here, first of all, we are trying to identify all structures within the areas assigned to these enumerators. So by doing that, you write in chalk on the walls of the structures that you identify. And what is new to this census is that we are even identifying structures that are at window level of construction. So even if
What if they never get completed?
Sure, but we are saying that potentially once it's at the window level or at lintel level, potentially it will be completed at some point, and then probability is higher than if nothing is there at all. And so at the end of the day, we'll be able to get to know the structures that are potentially likely to be added onto the housing stock. And so once we identify these structures, then we get into the structures and identify households and the population that live in there. So here we are not doing the counting. We are only getting an estimate and identifying an estimate of the population and identifying the household that we find in them. So that, and then we take some few information like the uses to which the structure is put. You could have a building that houses, people, and at the same time used as a business center and that kind of stuff. And then the Ministry of Water and Sanitation, I don't know whether I've gotten the name right, they also are interested in finding out whether the structure that people live in have toilet facilities. And so we are asking whether in that facility there's a toilet facility. Okay. And if there's a toilet facility, we want to know the type of toilet facility. So, and then we are also taking the GPS coordinates of the structure. And so that is the first part of the field work. And then the second part is when we are starting the enumeration itself. And that is starting on the 28th of this month up to the 11th of July.
You mentioned something about counting business centers. You know, when you go to some places, you find squatters, you find kiosks. Will all these be counted?
Yes, so all kiosks, local kiosks and...
Well, small neighborhood kiosks that sell tomatoes and onions.
So if it's a tabletop where, they sell tomatoes and onions and these things, no, those are not described as
business.
Yeah. And so we will discount them. And so yes, we need to know the uses to which these structures are put for policy decision making at some point.
When you talk of policy decision making, what exactly is this going to inform where policy is concerned? Which part of policy needs the data that we are getting from the Population and Housing Census? You mentioned that Ministry of Water and Sanitation will be needing, for example, the toilets involved. There was a survey recently about that. Ghana has significantly improved the availability of toilets, which is also a developmental goal. But which other ministries require this data that you're collecting, and what purposes exactly are we looking at using it for?
Okay, so thank you very much for that question, and let me say that, in fact, this census data is going to be so resourceful, because at the end of the day, we will be in a position to generate roughly or more than 2.6 million indicators out of we have roughly 127 questions on this questionnaire, and I must say that almost all the ministries, agencies, and not only, in most cases, we limit the use of the census and other survey data to government. But let me say that before I even answer your question, say that the census data will be or should be used by all kinds of persons. We have business people using the data. We have researchers using the data. We have students. Each day, the number of students that come here for data, for their research work, you can't imagine. Researchers, our researchers within the university community are always interested in the census data to be able to do further research.
Are you going to make the indicators publicly available?
Sure. We publicize, but unfortunately the point is that whatever we put out there may be just about or even less than a tenth of whatever you find in the census data. Okay. And so we expect that students, researchers, government, businessmen will also make use of the data so that we all have the benefits, or get the benefit that we require.
So the full information is available upon request?
So we usually will not give the full data set. We give a proportion of the census data, apart from the one that we put out in the public domain. And so on request, yes, we give but that proportion will always be representative of the entire data set. And so you can use it for whatever analysis one will want to. But if there are also some specific requests, yes, upon consideration, we give out those.
What are these commercial activities that you're checking, the business centers and all that? What is the purpose of such?
Yeah, so I was talking about the resourcefulness of the data, and saying that apart from even the toilet facility that I talked about, you can talk about the socio-demographic characteristics of the population, talking about even the single question on age. Mm-hmm. When we ask about the age, we are asking you, how old are you? And that question alone will be able to help us to know the number of children that are within the society, the youth that are within the society, the aged, for instance, And these alone, these set of indicators alone, are needed by the Ministry of Youth. What is the other name? The youth and employment. Yes. No, it's not youth and employment. It's youth, because I know Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations. And yes, they also need it, because there's also employment questions in there. We want to know how many of our people are employed. For those who are employed, we want to know the kind of work that they are doing, the number of hours that they are devoted to their activities, and so then we are able to measure underemployment. Somebody may be employed, but may be underemployed. And so
that's for the Ministry of Employment.
Not only them. So other NGOs may even make use of that information to make sure that they use that to achieve a set of goals that they have set for themselves. Now, apart from we are talking about marital status, nationality, we want to know your nationality, whether you are a Ghanaian or non-Ghanaian. Remember, the census is about all the people who spend or who will spend the census night in Ghana. And so whether you are a Ghanaian or non-Ghanaian, we will enumerate you. And this time around, because of the copy or tablet that we are using, we are able to tell each of the nationals, if we are coming from China, if you are coming from Togo, Lebanon, or whichever country, we are able to determine. Question about educational background. Those who are in school will be able to determine. Those who have ever been to school will be able to determine. Those who have never been to school will be able to get that. And then literacy. We want to know what proportion of the population are in a position to read and write. That is one of the SDG goals. And here, talking to the Ministry of Education, we have, initially, in the 2010 census, we asked the literacy question from age 15. Now we are asking it at age 11. So for all those who are 11 years and older, we are asking about, exactly. And so when you move away from literacy and education, we have ICT questions. And so ICT questions, we want to know ownership of ICT devices like tablets, computer, and use of internet facility, and so on and so forth. And then ownership of assets. We want to be able to, at the end of the day, also measure poverty, not using Ghana Living Standard Survey, also help us to measure those who are poor and those who are non-poor. But that measures poverty using consumption approach. So there we come to you and we try to measure what you buy every day and what you consume every day and all that. So at the end of the day, we are able to measure that. But there's also another aspect, which is non-monetary poverty, that the census will help us to.
I mean, of that, it's non-monetary poverty.
Yes, so we want to, for instance, get to know those who own a number of assets. So we're looking at television, we're looking at mobile phones, we're looking at car and vehicle and a few other. So there are a number of assets that usually will help us, and it's not Ghana alone that is doing this. So a number of countries are doing this, and so we are also able to compare among countries the proportion of the populace that are poor and those who are not poor. When we move away from this, we're also talking about difficulty in performing activities. And so you have people who are challenged in terms of physical, in performing activity. They are unable to walk, and so on and so forth. You also have people who have difficulty in seeing, people who have difficulty in speech.
Okay.
There are about 6 of them in these areas, and we want to be able to get to know this. And so for these 6 areas, functional areas, at the end of the day, we will also be able to determine the disability conditions within the population. When we move away from there, there are also questions on fertility. So for women 12 years and older, we are asking the number of children that you have given birth to.
12 years and older.
Yes.
This is very alarming. Why are we asking 12-year-old girls whether they've given birth before? Are we expecting them to be giving birth?
No, but it's been proven that some girls at age 12 have given birth to, and so that is what internationally we have put it. So it's not only Ghana, but it's an international decision to ask this question for women 12 years and older. Yes, we may have a lot of children within this age bracket who don't have children, but we have a few of them, and that is the standard. And so we get these questions, the number of children, and to also find out whether all of them are alive or not. And then we also talk about mortality, so deaths that have happened within the last 12 months within the household. And so that is also being,
So you're taking adult mortality also?
Yeah, children and adults, yeah, all deaths within the, and related to that is orphanhood. So we want to know whether both your mother and father are alive or not. So this, for instance, is a question that is so important to the Ministry of Gender, Child Protection, and so on and so on. And when you move away from this, and then immigration. So yes, we are not going to enumerate those who have emigrated, those who have moved out of Ghana, but then we are going to ask questions about them. So that if you in your household, you had somebody who was part of your household, but then left for some other country, we will ask.
They'll be able to tell you.
Yeah. Now, the question on fertility, mortality, and immigration are 3 variables, important variables that will help us to be able to project our population. Remember, after the census, in between censuses, we always project. And that is why Statistical Service is able to tell you that the population currently is projected at 31.6 million people. It's because of the projections. And so after the census, we are able to project. And that is what each year we make use of as a country.
So let me ask you an important question. You mentioned the mortality rate. You mentioned all different kinds of variables within this enumeration that you'll be finding out. Why don't you just empower the Ministry of, the Births and Deaths Authority to do that instead of extending it as, a whole different project and exercise?
Yeah, so I don't want us to limit the discussion to only the Births and Deaths Registry. So I want to generalize it to say that data from administrative sources has been a challenge. Ideally, there are 3 different sources from which we get data. One is administrative source, the other is census, and the third one is administrative source. And we have always had challenge with the administrative source. How many people register their births?
Let's strengthen the administrative sources.
Yeah, so it's something that we keep talking about. I remember a few years ago, there was a project that, was trying to, boost people's interest to make sure that we register our births and our deaths. Do we register our deaths in this country? And so there are always gaps. And therefore, if you want to rely on the data coming from the births and deaths registry, you will not get the full picture. The full picture. And that is why we always want to complement it with census and survey data. But let me be quick to say that, yes, it is something that we are all preaching because that is cheaper compared to census and survey data. And so if you are able to strengthen the administrative data, it will be cheaper to get this data and to plan with it. Unfortunately, as I said, we haven't developed to understand that we can rely solely on the administrative data. In some countries, the Scandinavian countries, for instance, you get some of them who don't do censuses. They rely solely on the administrative data because of the level that they have developed these areas. And so we are not there yet.
Wouldn't it be cheaper, though, for us to develop these sources than to spend so much money?
No, it will take time. It will take time.
Is it a goal, though?
No, that's what I'm saying, that yes, it is a discussion that has started, a few years ago. And now that we are working on our statistical system, we believe that with the strengthening of the statistical system, things will improve in terms of getting administrative sources of data.
Who is helping us to finance this census?
Before I answer that, I was talking about the resourcefulness of the census data, and I left out the housing and the sanitation part of the census. That is also very, very important. The Ministry of Housing and Sanitation are helping us, in this area.
Okay. So you have Ministry of Housing, Sanitation,
sure.
Gender,
Sure.
Youth and Sports, Employment and Labor. Okay.
Yeah. And there are also other key stakeholders who are also interested in all the information that we are getting. So who is helping us to fund this is government. Even though we have had some support, UNFPA, IOM, on top of my head, these are the institutions that, but we have also had some private people also supporting us, at least I can mention Zoom Lion, helping us during our training. They fumigated all our training venues. They printed some of our manuals for us. They also provided sanitizers for us, and so these were some of the things that they did to support the census.
Between 2010 population and housing census and 2021's population and housing census, what thing are we doing differently for different results? Okay,
so the very key thing that I can talk about is the use of tablets.
Okay, technology.
Technology. In all our processes, we have used technology, talking about recruitment, talking about training. Our training, we were using both virtual training and face-to-face training. So apart from the enumerators and supervisors that we did face-to-face only, all the other levels that I talked about, the training of master trainers, the training of the national trainers, and the training of the regional trainers, we use virtual means to train them. And in addition to that, we did face-to-face training. Talking about monitoring our data, that is also something that we haven't done before. A while ago, there was a meeting trying to look at the data that has come to us and trying to see whether we are on the right path or whether there are certain things that we need to look at and all that. And it's because of technology, which, 2010 we couldn't do that. 2010 we had to wait till end of data collection before seeing that the data is, of quality or otherwise. And I can give you an example of actually 3 EAs that we had to go back to the field in 2010. In 3 of the enumeration areas, the data came and we didn't have the age specified for all the people that we had enumerated in that enumeration area.
Okay, but that's an error from the enumerators.
This one, I wouldn't even call it an error. It's a shoddy work that the enumerator did, and so we didn't trust that data. Now, when I talk about enumeration area, we're talking about an area that has a population of about 750 people. And you are telling me that within the area with that population, 750, you can't determine even a single person's age. So that data looked suspicious, and so we had to, abandon, discard, and send another, field officer to the field to make sure that we get the right information. But this time around, using this technology, it will never happen. It will never happen. Now, apart from this, we're also talking about the kind of questions that we are asking. For some of the questions, they are new. We have introduced some new questions. And for some of the questions, we have modified the way we're asking them. And for some of the modules, we have also expanded. So basically, these are the new things that we can talk about. And yeah.
What informed the methodology for this year?
Yeah, so talking about the approach that we are using for the census, we using what we call the de facto method of count. There are usually 2 main methods that countries could adopt. One is the de facto, and the other is de jure. Now, the de jure count is counting people at their usual place of residence. Where do you usually live? And so that's where they will count you. And the de facto count, counts individuals at a specific point in time at a particular place within the country. We are using the de facto because of the way as Ghanaians we live. If I say Ghanaians, the way we live, we have people who have multiple places of residence. The person can live at Kwashiman and Sotuom at the same time. And so if you are asking about the usual place of residence, if you can, it's not taken, you count this person twice. And so to avoid double counting, we have decided to use the de facto method of count, which says that where you spend the census night is where you'll be counted. And so it avoids, getting somebody counted twice and that kind of.
When you get to the residence to count the person, or whichever place you decide to count them, we noticed that there are literally about 150 questions for the respondent. Isn't this too much for a person to answer? Because if you're asking me 150 questions, at a point I might think you're being overly intrusive.
Okay, so it's not up to 150 though, it's about 127. But let me say that, yes, I've told you we did 3 trial censuses. The first trial census had, more questions, so as the second trial census. And these were some of the questions.
So when we say 150, that's close to...
Yeah, so at the time we had more than 150. They were getting to 200 questions. And these were some of the feedback that we got from the trial census to say that the questions are many, and so we need to consider removing some of them.
Because some of them can answer, give you more insight into others.
Yes. And so And so the question is also, related to that is also a question as to why all these questions. And whenever we were doing sensitization for some groups, the question that, kept coming is also, why didn't you ask this question? Why didn't you? And so the point is that we don't have the wherewithal, we don't have the resources. And so whenever there's a census, we want to take advantage and get more out of that. Now we talked about spending 521 million on the census. So the question that people ask is, should we be interested in just the population, spend the, and of course, if you were to ask just 3 questions, it was going to be about the same cost. If I say about, the only thing that was going to reduce is the fact that you have spent less number of time on a respondent. But in terms of traveling to or getting to the respondent, it will be the same. And so why don't we get as many information as possible so that as a country we have a rich source of data to plan with. Because we and especially the fact that census is the only activity that is getting us data at the district level and at the locality level. When you are conducting a survey, usually because of the limitation, we are able to publish data at the national and regional levels. And so earlier I talked about the Ghana Living Standard Survey, which we publish only at the national and regional level. The Ghana Demographic and Health Survey, the Core Welfare Indicator Questionnaire Survey, and all these surveys that we conduct, we always will report at the national and regional levels. And therefore, if you are talking about poverty level, it will be very difficult to get data for the districts. If you are talking about the use of ICT, for instance, it will be very difficult to get the data at the district level. And all these areas that I discussed earlier. But with the census, because we are going to every locality and every district, at the end of the day, we will get information for especially the new districts that have been created and the new regions that have been created. They need this information. And so if we limited ourselves to just a few information, I'm saying that it wouldn't have helped us so much, particularly looking at how much money we spending on the census and the fact that it's also going to help the district to get at least this baseline information to plan with.
Tell us about Census Night. What are we doing with Census Night? What is it for? Why Census Night?
Okay, so I said this census, and in fact, in all our previous censuses, we have used a de facto approach to count. And so as I explained, the de facto count is getting a snapshot information about the people at a specific point in time at a particular location. And that is where the Census Night comes in. So it's like taking a photograph of all Ghanaians on that night, 27 June 2021. You want to know who you have to count and who you shouldn't count. So it's like on that night, somebody up somewhere will take a photograph of all those who are found within Ghana. And so if we develop this picture and you are found within it, means that we will have to enumerate you or count you. If you are not there in that picture, we will not count you. So that is the analogy that I can give you. And therefore, what we seek to achieve is to find out who were around on Census Night, midnight of 27 June 2021. So whether you are a child, so I'm talking about from age 0 up to age 1,000, if there's somebody who is 1,000 years old.
Probably 100 and something.
Exactly. Whether you are a Ghanaian or not, it doesn't matter your status, and provided you were found in Ghana on that night, we will enumerate you. But if for some reason you were not in Ghana, then we will not enumerate you.
What if you're Ghanaian and you were out of the country, you're back later?
So that is what I'm saying. So then we will not enumerate you, because we are taking a snapshot of the population at that point in time. And so, and you will also be enumerated at where you were on that night. And so broadly, we can group the population into three. You can talk about people who would have spent the census night in their homes. So on the midnight of 27 June 2021, these are people who would have spent the night in their homes or houses. And then you have a second group who we call institutional population. So these are the population that will spend the census night in institutions. If I say institutions, I'm talking about schools, boarding houses. So you have people who are in Jabin Secondary School, people who are in Opokuware Secondary School, people who are in Infantiman Girls, Achimota School, and these are people that I'm referring to as. In addition to that, you may have people who, for some reason, may have spent the census night at the hospital. And so we will also go there and enumerate them.
You'll be in the hospital on census night?
Sure. But for them, because of their condition, we go there earlier than the night.
Yeah.
Yes, so we'll get there around 3 p.m., 4 p.m. thereabout.
What about the locality levels?
Yes, so the third group that I was going to talk about are the fruiting population. So we have people who may be traveling on that night to long distance places, like traveling from Accra to Bolga, and so census night will catch you up on the road.
Okay.
But we don't stop buses on the road
to
count. And so at the point of departure is when we enumerate you. So we have made arrangements with the transport operators to get there on that evening to do the counting.
How do you avoid double counting? If you at the bus stop, you count transport yard, then you count the people. Then you go to their house and the people tell you.
No, we count those who are on board.
Okay, but what if the person has already been counted at home?
Yeah, so we give them what we call certificate of enumeration.
Okay.
So there's a certificate of enumeration that we give to these people, and that would avoid the double counting that you talk about. And then we have people we call homeless population. These are people who don't have homes. They sleep on people on the street and that kind of. So we have identified these sleeping places, and on the night of that 27th, we will go to these places. Before they sleep, we will enumerate them before they sleep. We will also go to hotels. Some people may spend the night. For some reason, they spend the night in hotels, and we'll go there to enumerate them. And prisons. Some people you find in prisons, barracks, and all these other places that you can find people. We'll go there and enumerate them.
Mr. Keja, there are some people whose religious beliefs don't permit them to respond to the questions that you're asking them. For example, they don't want to be counted for their own personal beliefs, or religion does not allow them to be counted. How will you count these people?
This is news to me. I've never heard about.
You've never been to anyone's house and they tell you, oh, I'm sorry, I can't participate in this exercise?
No, yes. Occasionally, yes. In the field, you get people, some people say that they don't want to be counted and all that. No, so let me say that the census officials that we have put in the field have an obligation to keep all the census information strictly confidential. So whatever information you pick, you are not supposed to divulge the information to an outsider, because the law doesn't allow that. And so before the, in between the training, we ask them to swear an oath of secrecy. And therefore, if you go contrary to that, the law will take a course. And if you are found culpable, the law says that you should either be fined, imprisoned, or it can be both. In the same way, the law is also saying that everybody, provided you are on the soil of Ghana, is supposed to provide information to the census official.
It's compulsory.
It's compulsory.
So let me simplify this question. Can I say I don't want to be counted?
Yeah, so that is what I'm coming to. And so you cannot say that you wouldn't be part of the census, because the law doesn't allow that.
What will happen to me?
Yeah, so if you insist, then again the law says that you can't be fined, you can't be imprisoned, or it can't be both. But in most of the cases, Statistical Service doesn't want to rush in using the law. What we try to do is to dialogue. And so we talk, and in most cases that has worked. Even if the enumerator is not able to convince, in most of the cases the supervisor comes in, and if the supervisor doesn't succeed, we bring in an opinion leader to...
Yeah, it's a long process.
Because, yes, the point is also that you want good quality data, and so we don't want people... Exactly. So we don't want to force people to give us false information. And so that's why we go by that. And so in most of the cases, yes, that has worked. And therefore we usually will relegate to the background the law.
Thank you so much, Mr. Owusu Keja. He is responsible for Census Methodology Workstream at the Ghana Statistical Service. His name is Mr. Owusu Keja, and we have been speaking to him all of today. If you do not understand anything, or you feel like there are questions on your mind which were not asked, please explain to us on social media at MX24GH. We'll be waiting for your questions. My name is Nuong Falong. It's been an honor spending 1 hour of your evening with you. Did you have any...
I thought you were going to give me the chance to say my closing remarks.
Do you have any closing remarks to give us? No problem. Please wrap it in.
Yes, so talking about concerns that the public may have. Yes, so we have in the past also had occasions where people have said that they were not counted. And so we are saying that in some of the cases, it may not be true that the person was not counted because of the approach that we are adopting. We count the people at the household level, and therefore one person as a member of the household can respond to the census questions on behalf of the other members. And therefore, sometimes when the other members are not available, they think that they haven't been enumerated. But in some of the cases, it may also be true that indeed this person and the household have not been enumerated. And therefore, we say that if you suspect that an enumerator hasn't been to your place, starting with the listing, if you don't find any chalk on your wall, if the enumerator doesn't come to ask you these basic questions by 25th, then you need to alert us so that we are able to get back and correct this.
How do we alert you? Is there...
yes, so there are numbers I'll put. And then also the enumeration period. That is when we are taking the detailed information about the household. And so you find that some of our enumerators may not come to you to ask the questions, and so we want you to draw our attention to the fact that you haven't been enumerated. And so we have numbers available. We have toll-free number that you can call 0800 426 426. 0800 426 426. And then
is there like another phone number? Or
yes. Yes, and apart from this toll-free number that you can call, we also have 0551 625 567. 0551 625 567. You also have 0591 476 893. 0591 476 893. Then you have another one, 0591 476 895. 0591 476 895. There's another one, 0206 850 157. 0206 850 157. The last one, 0591 476 884. So these are numbers that are being managed by our call center agents, and once you call, there's somebody that will respond to. And then also our enumerators and supervisors, you need to identify them. They will be in census jackets, they will be in census caps, they will have their ID cards. At the back of the tablet that they are using, you also have a sticker with our name, Ghana Statistical Service. And so if you suspect that the person that has come to you is not coming from the census team, you can also call on this line to alert us so that together we succeed as a country. We think that the census is going to be useful. It has so much, many benefits, and so let us all support the census officials to get credible data for our development.
Thank you so much. That was Mr. Wusu Keja. He's head of Census Methodology Workstream at the Ghana Statistical Service. He's also been educating us concerning the entire process of the 2021 Population and Housing Census. This is Spotlight on MX24. We are grateful for 1 hour out of your evening. My name is Nuong Falong.
Fathers, they are every boy's hero and every girl's love. This Father's Day, MX24 in partnership with BTL Africa brings you the Pop-Up Lounge Father's Day edition. It's 2 weekends of great fun. I'm talking family photo shoot sessions, the Euro 2020 viewing party, the gaming zone with a variety of games like table tennis and the FIFA competitions, foosball, the pool table, barbecue and grills for all you participants. It's the Pop-Up Lounge Father's Day edition, happening live at the Marina Mall from Saturday the 19th to Sunday the 20th of June from 7 a.m. each day. Of course, there'll be lots to eat and drink with major appearances from some of your favorite artists. Not forgetting the MX24 crew, your favorite presenters and DJs, Ms. Drew, Godwin Nambo, DJ Viroski, Jason LA, Kevoy, Kwame A.A. Opoku, The Man KK, and many others. Join us celebrate Father's Day in grand style. The Pop-Up Lounge by MX24 and BTL is also brought to you by
Nana, come and help me. You need to learn.
But I'm more interested in drawing.
How are you going to be part of the business if you don't learn?
You just don't understand.
Morning. Anyone for some Lipton?
The rich taste of Lipton awakens body and mind.
Let me have a look at your drawings. Son, these designs are amazing.
Lipton Yellow Label Tea, awaken to what really matters.
Pepsodent introduces charcoal and lemon essence. The unique combination of natural essences whitens teeth naturally for you and family because every smile matters.
Get your hands up! Get your hands up! Get your hands up! Hands up! Hands up! Turn down for what?
original. You be cool in my temperature. If you call
say cheese, take a picture. Shaka post, magazine, take a picture.
In the leg book, boa, 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 boa.
Why the party there today?